doing
Hello
great.
and good day to you, my beautiful friends. I do hope you're well. Welcome to episode 115 of CrossButtonVR, our journey into the world of VR. I'm your host, Reece, and it's an honor to be joined by one of the most, man who single-handedly carried the PSVR 1, I suppose it is. It's Bryan Paul from Without Parole.
Yeah, my back still hurts from all of that.
Yeah, I can imagine. I feel like, I've already been saying to you, I feel like everyone knows you in the VR space, and I think that's apparent. I say in my own kind of people that I know as well that know about VR, I feel like they've heard of your channel somewhere or another, whether it's from Miles then to you or things like that. Yeah, you're very well known.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool to hear because I was just telling you before the show, like I get the impression that no one has any idea who I am, right? Like we've been doing this for so long, right? And only one person ever in my entire life has ever walked up to me and be like, do you do VR stuff on YouTube? And I was like, yes, I'm trying to wait tables though. So can you, like I didn't even have the appreciation because it was a busy Saturday night at the restaurant I was working at. And I was like, he goes, oh, my girlfriend told me not to bother you. And I was like, you should have listened to your girlfriend. I was like, literally like just so in the weeds.
I'm unsubscribing.
Right, exactly. And like I tried to be as nice as I could, but the dude was he just kept hanging out, and I was like, "Can you, in my world, no one knows who I am. Even my parents are like, "What do you do again? What do you do? You do something on YouTube?
I do stupid stuff on YouTube."
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
I put this plastic headset on my face and act like I can see things that you can't. Yeah. And yet we still all do it every day of the week and think it's cooler than anything else. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How are you doing anyway?
Okay. I'm okay. It's 2 in the afternoon. I don't want to like break the fourth wall for people out there who are like think that you do this at a certain time, but it's 2 in the afternoon and this is still early for me. Like this is like really the beginning of my coffee consumption. So I'm doing okay though. This is really a pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
Like it's an absolute honor. Like I said to you before, when I got my PSVR 1 back, like I remember buying a PSVR 1 just for Resident Evil 7, and I got a few other games, and I literally went from videos to videos trying to find games to play that I had never heard of because I never had played VR before. And I still remember stumbling across your channel, and I remember watching like your Firewall review back in the day. You did one for what was that other one that I always forget the name of it, but it was Supermassive's one. What was it called?
Rush of Blood?
No, not that one. The other one that used the aim controller. Forgot the name of it.
Oh, Bravo
Didn't do
team?
too well. Yeah, that was it. Because I was really excited for this game. And I watched a review. I was like, it doesn't sound that good. And you can usually tell when Brian likes a game because his voice just goes up a few octaves, and it didn't this time. So I was like, okay, I probably won't buy that one. Sadly, I did eventually buy the game, and I wish I kind of listened to your review. So that's one reason why you should actually listen to your reviews, I suppose, because it didn't get better.
Hey, listen, I still hear from people to this day that who say, "Oh, Bravo Team wasn't as bad as you said it was." It's like there's always going to be people who defend certain games, and honestly, I think probably a lot of people would be like, "Oh God, stop it!" But I absolutely love when people have completely opposite opinions of mine, right?
That's the best thing you could want.
Yeah, I love when I get to talk to Wes about like Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife, and I'm like, God, this game is just so not good. Like Fast Travel really fumbled the ball on this one, and he's like, no, it's really good. And then After the Fall, like he's got hundreds of hours in that game, and I'm like, bro, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Oh, this just took you by surprise, didn't it?
After the Fall?
Yeah,
I already owned that one, so I didn't need to watch your review.
Yeah, listen, and without going off the rails too much here, like I think like After the Fall, I think we have an amazing version of it on PSVR 2. Great resolution, great frame rate, great. Like the animations are all there the way they're supposed to. The adaptive triggers, Vertigo knows how to like use the sense controllers really, really well. But man, it's like just going through those same environments again and again and again to like upgrade like the most minor thing on your handgun by 0.1% or something like that. I was like, what are we, this really what we're doing? Like, it just felt like that game didn't come together the way it was supposed to. Like I had great ideas for that game before it came out. And I was like, oh, I could have made this game better. And that's not what you want to be thinking about when you play a game. And so that really affected what I thought of it.
I've just realised what your magic is then, because just by you saying that, I was like, I never looked at it that way, and now I'm not going to be able to look at it any other way when I'm upgrading my gun, because I'm like, oh, I've got a new fancy upgrade. Now you're gonna be like, yeah, it does absolutely nothing. It's just a laser. So thanks for that.
Tell me how much better it would have been. We're going off the rails. Tell me how much better it would have been is if you were going through these environments and sometimes you were collecting wood, right? And or sometimes you were collecting brick, or sometimes you were collecting, some kind of organic material, or snow breed guts, right? To do biological research. Like every single time you go through these, you have these massively different things you're searching for. Then you bring them back to your base, and instead of the base just being a bunch of arcade machines with people running around with their heads cut off, it's actually a base that you're building up, like kind of like the Walking Dead Onslaught, but good. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like you're building structures and you're improving your home base. And there's these people there that are saying, listen, we really need these materials. Go back to this place and scavenge for that stuff.
You got a valid point.
Listen, I don't think it's not that, it wouldn't have been that much extra work to do something like that. And I felt like something happened along the way where this game became something different mid-development. They didn't get to finish their ideas and they just sort of had to scramble to put it together. And a lot of people ended up liking it, which is great. But I didn't.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with you there. I do feel like it, having to grab certain suppliers probably would have been a lot more fun and maybe gave you a lot more reason to go back to certain maps that you didn't like playing, because otherwise you just kept playing the same map over again because that's what people were used to. Yeah. So I agree with that. As for Onslaught though, I strangely enjoyed that. I don't know why.
I mean, I get it.
I was so close to being the first person to platinum it as well, which was quite funny. And then I decided to go to bed, and I regret my decision that night.
And then Miles came in and swept it up from under you.
Oh, that fucker.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Miles. Do you know who it was?
No, I didn't look. I just remember seeing the thing saying 0.1%. I was like, damn, I was so close. I had one more trophy to get, and I decided to sleep. But
dude,
yeah.
But you're not wrong though. Like Onslaught had some really good qualities about it, and I think actually if you could combine Onslaught's scavenging missions where you're running through and you get that, that wave of zombies heading your way. So you only had a limited amount of time to get in and get the supplies and run around and explore as much or as little as you wanted, but, make it worth your while. If they could have combined that with After the Fall's 4-player co-op, I mean, man, that would have been something special. And so I think, especially over the last few years, we've seen a lot of developers get really close conceptually with an amazing game, but not quite across the finish line. And I think that After the Fall and Walking Dead Onslaught were two of those games. They just a little bit more work. They could have been great.
Yeah. Maybe they should have teamed up. I feel like Onslaught was always set up to fail though, with Saints and Sinners being kind of cast of shadow over the top of it, because let's be honest, you were going from Saints and Sinners to that. I don't think it was ever going to, people were expecting something like it with the actual show characters. And then what they got was poorly voice acted show characters, followed by a gameplay loop that some people just didn't enjoy. No, we can all agree the voice acting was absolutely shocking. That Rick voice, whoever that impersonator was.
Yeah. And it took place between two seasons that nobody even watched because everyone had fallen off by that point. Right? And so they were hampered by these constraints of being like, well, whatever we do, it has to make sense between these two seasons. And everyone was like, why didn't you just write a good story instead of trying to shove it between these two seasons? Nothing about it made sense. And I agree with you that it was destined to fail as soon as they stripped out the multiplayer, because that was supposed to be a 4-player co-op game. And that's what it had going for it over Saints and Sinners. Saints and Sinners, like, as great as that game is, it's very lonely. And if you could play with a friend, it would
you feel it as well, don't you? Even though there's so many walkers, you do feel that loneliness at times. You see an NPC like, cool, and then it starts shooting you. It's like, I didn't want to have to shoot you. I just wanted to interact with you a little bit. I wanted to give you like a box of supplies so you can go along with your day, but now I'm going to have to kill you. I mean, sure, I'm going to kill you and take them back anyway, but, that isn't the point.
Yep, the Grand Theft Auto disease. Yeah, for sure. But that's I think that it could have been a really fun multiplayer, like kind of more arcade experience, but what are you going to do? It happens.
That is true. Well, before we jump into the questions, if anyone would like to support us, please give this podcast a sub on the service you're using. If you're watching us on YouTube, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button, and why not leave us a comment too? You can find us on Twitter and Blue Sky at CrossButtonVR, and now you can also find us on Ko-fi, which is spelled KO-FI, where you can support us and help us pay all things that keep the lights on around here. but only if you want to. And a big shout out to Golo again, who is a monthly member over there. So thank you so much, mate.
I know that person.
So Brian,
what's up, Golo?
Yeah,
how you doing?
Yeah,
how you doing?
He's actually one of the ones that's asked you a question. Is that, to be fair, I'm going to tell you who's asked the questions because I think you're going to know most of them anyway.
Oh, good. I get to strike back. I get to assault them personally because I'll know who that is.
That is also true. Yeah, I thought I'd do this just so you can be like, oh, how dare you ask such a dumb question. But first, you've got to go through our dumb questions, which is usually what we ask anyone that comes on the show, just because, it helps people get to know you a little bit. Your game taste and things like that. It's nothing too extensive. But so we'll jump in first with, just tell us a bit about yourself. You know, you don't have to go right into personal stuff. You can talk a little bit about that if you want. I mean, you already mentioned you used to work as a waiter. That's something I didn't know. But I feel like a lot of stuff I'm not going to know. So,
I mean, I don't know. How far back do we want to go here? Listen, I will tell you this. I'll summarize all of the years leading up to this one very quickly and succinctly by saying at 18 years old, people are asked to go to college and figure out what they want to do with their life. And I was like, and I've always thought that that's really strange. I think that that's way too young of an age to ask people, kids, children, what they want to do with their life. You don't know. In the succinct statement that I'm trying to make is that I'm 45 and I still don't know what I want to do with my life. Right. At least once a month I go, this might be the last year of YouTube. This might be the last year. I might look back at this past decade as the years I was a YouTuber. Remember that? Remember when I did YouTube for that decade? That was really fun. Cool. What's next? You know? And so it's sort of, I feel like I've sort of always been like this lost soul, just wandering, trying to figure out what to do and always just barely making ends meet. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh, I can wait tables and just pay the bills, and I can do YouTube and just pay the bills, and I can do that. And it's like, but nothing's ever screamed at me, this is what you were meant to do, except for when I get comments on Without Parole that are like, man, this channel means so much to me. You saved my life multiple times just by being there. Right. And I'm like, God, that is, maybe this is what I'm meant to do. People are really reacting to, you know, it might not be like some crazy financial success. It may not be, I'll never be like, you know, super stable, but like, maybe I don't need to be. Maybe
hopefully stable enough. That's all that matters, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Like if it's helping people that much, maybe this is the calling. Like maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for giving me direction. I say that.
You are an entertainer. That's the main thing there. But no, right. you do entertain people. I've been watching your game cast a little bit more than I usually do. I used to always tune into them every now and then, and I'm not going to say I watched every single one of them because I would be bullshitting you, and I'm not going to do that. But I have been chiming into a few of them every now and then, and I've only recently started commenting on them because literally they're on quite late here. It's like, you know, I know every time Miles goes, it's like 11 o'clock here, and I'm already like I can't stay up to 1 o'clock these days. Sometimes, like it's very odd. Like sometimes I'll stay up late and then I'll just kind of fall asleep. It's a mixture. But I was watching some of them, and literally your comment sections when you're live, mate, it takes me back to like whenever I used to have a busy Twitch chat, and you'd be like sitting there and just like, I can't keep up with that. And then that would be like the one-off. But literally, that's every time I've been there. You've got people asking you questions. You've got people throwing you donations. You've got people just chatting with you, just wanting to kind of exist around you in a sense. I suppose that's not exist. I mean, that's probably a mean way of putting it, but you know, they just kind of want to interact with you in every way they can. Like it's, and I think that's really sweet. You know, it's nice that they all going to sit there, spend their evening. And I mean, it's crazy. Like, cause even I was looking at it, I was like, I'm sure there's a message that somebody just asked me something. Cause like, I know someone added me to say, hi, how are you? And I'm like, where was that gone? Who was that name? Okay, cool. I'm not going to respond now because I don't know. So whoever that was, apologies.
And I mean, and it gets to the next level on top of that. You know, I think it's easy to click a button and tune in on YouTube and hang out and just hang out in the live chat, you know, occasionally typing something. It's easy. I don't do it terribly often. So like, I know that it's still a commitment. So it's not that easy. But what takes it to the next level is when we do something like the Game Cat meetup at PAX East earlier this month.
They look so cool,
dude. when you have people traveling from Germany and the Netherlands and multiple people from the UK, I was like, do you guys know that we don't have anything planned, right? We're just going to hang out and drink some beer and go to PAX together. And this we don't have anything planned. Like, we don't have like the budget for like to rent some like hall, and PAX doesn't think we're cool enough to give us a panel room and even do a live episode of Gamescast from the show floor or anything like that. And so I was like, what do you like? In my head, I'm like, what are you guys doing here? Right. And so it means a lot that they show up.
Go for a pizza.
Yeah. Right. I mean, this is the most expensive pizza they've ever had ever. So it means a lot, man. Like, I think it's easy sometimes to just kind of go through life and kind of take things for granted. But I mean, at least once a week,
easiest, yeah,
something happens where I go, wow, like these people really care. And that's really cool in my book.
I mean, it kind of takes me back because I mean, like, I remember on one of your, I think it might have been your last PAX season last year, and you said about Miles. I think it's when you did the game cast afterwards, and you kind of went how he just kind of whips around. He'll talk to some people, but then he'd be over to somebody else. He'd be talking to everyone. He kind of just he maneuvers around that show floor like, yeah, it's nobody's business. And I remember the first time I met Miles at WASD here, and it's the first time ever meeting him. And literally, I remember him just tapping me on the shoulder, and he was literally like, "Yo, Reece, come over here and meet this dude. This is Henry from Upload." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I've never met you before. Hi, Henry." And this was like the first couple of months of me doing VR stuff. So I was like, I hadn't met any of these people. When he was introducing me to them, all of them, he was kind of took me under his wing. I think I left that place having more people to talk to about VR that I hadn't spoke to before, and he introduced me to so many different people. And even like, just he was like, we'd leave the place, and he was like, "So do you want to go for a pizza or something?" He's just absolutely chill all the way through. Like, I mean, and I look back at that, and I mean, I've never really kind of told him that, like, in the sense of like, I genuinely look back at that. He was just incredibly kind the whole way through. There was never a point where he made you feel like he was a burden for just kind of, he was always like, "Come here, this is Alejandro from Supermassive," and it's like, "Oh, hi, I play your games," kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it was it was quite surreal, but yeah, no, I'll always look back at that as just such a great interaction of how people should be with people who are in the same space as you. You know, there's a lot of belittling and things like that, sadly, when it comes to the internet. And yeah, there was none of that at all. It was just a great laugh, and yeah, it was something I was really happy to experience.
Yeah, man, we've gotten so lucky with co-hosts. You know, I mean, like going back 10 years, from day one. You know, like we've had co-hosts that stick around for a long time, co-hosts that don't stick around for a long time. People who are super knowledgeable about VR, some that not so much about VR. They just wanted to be there because they were my friends. But man, it doesn't matter. Like, all through the years, we've had nothing but just the nicest people, and people that really,
that's all that matters.
Yeah, they really reflect that whole thing. And Miles is the first one to really say it in black and white, right? On his channel, he had the quest for global empathy, and that's his thing. You know, vitamin G. I even said vitamin instead of vitamin. You guys, what have you done to me? What have you done to me?
Oh no, he's infected you.
Between you and Jamie and Miles, I've started pronouncing words wrong. What is happening? I'm going to start parking my car in the garage and cooking with basil. You guys are fucking crazy. What is happening? So anyway, yeah, but vitamin G and just like his, quest for empathy and all that, it's crazy. It's the stuff that we've always believed in, and the stuff that we've always held close to our heart, and said, like, the internet's a terrible place sometimes, but we're going to make sure that our little corner of the internet is always awesome, right? And we have no problem kicking people out that don't subscribe to that stuff. You know, it's like we live in a weird world right now, right? Where like you can say the word Nazi and it's a divisive word now. When it didn't used to be 10 years ago. Usually, oh, Nazis are bad, and now it's like, well, what, really? There's a well associated with Nazis. There's somebody that's gonna defend Nazis now. It's like, so we just live in a strange world. And I'm like, I don't want to live in that world. I'm going to live in my own little corner of the world where Nazis are still bad, right? And people in my community are family, and we take care of each other, and we treat each other like family. It doesn't mean you have to believe everything we believe. It just means that you have to treat each other with some compassion and with some empathy. And if you don't like what somebody's saying, then shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's the best way to be, sadly.
It's like a real family.
Yeah.
Like when cousin Jimmy comes over, it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear about your racist, homophobic thoughts. You just leave that in your truck, right? With your Confederate flag. Just leave it there. Right?
So don't bring that shit in here.
Just be nice. That's all we ask. I don't want to get political, but you know what I mean? It's like how hard.
It's a bit too late for that, isn't it?
Sorry, sirens on my end.
They heard you.
Yep. Yeah, they're after me.
What have you said?
Oh, they know what I've said.
It's when they swat you, you're just like, I'm a part of this.
Yeah, they're gonna hit you up soon. Yeah. Anyway, but again, it's like, yeah, I would never tell anyone what to believe or what they should value, but just be nice to each other. And we're finding that increasingly hard in this world, to just be nice to each other, to treat each other with compassion and empathy. And everyone I've surrounded myself with just has those same values, and I absolutely love it. Like Miles is amazing. He's such a hard worker. Wes, AJ, I mean, like just some of the greatest people I've ever met, and they've become my best friends. And these are people that I only see once a year at most, right? In real life.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same with like the previous CrossButton host. I say previous, I mean Laurie's still part of it, and Alex knows he's always welcome to come back. But literally, we only ever see each other like once a year at EGX sometimes, and that's about it. And yeah, it's not enough. Like it's one of those things where it's like last year we went there, and then we went out in the evening, and it was one of the greatest evenings out. Like we literally went to a video game bar, and like we played a load of retro games, and it was just it was everything you could ask for. And it's just a shame we don't all live close enough to keep doing that type of stuff.
Are you a retro gamer?
I have some retro consoles. I've got the Sega Mega Drive. Although I don't have it on me, it's currently now in storage, sadly. But I had the Sega Mega Drive. I had the Mini NES. I do have some emulators. Obviously, you've got to have a few, haven't you? Because all them games you can't play anymore. So I do like some retro stuff. But Mega Drive is pretty much the console I grew up on. It was the first console that was kind of handed to me to play games on. And then it went to like the PlayStation 1, PS2, Xbox and things like that. It kind of shifted around. I still enjoy a little bit of Rocket Knight. I don't know why. It's still I think that's one of the games that's stuck in my memory ever since I was a child, and it would never leave. So Rocket Knight.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
We do have a retro question for you in here, so we'll get round to that in a minute.
Okay.
So you're excited now. You want to move on.
Listen,
I won't rush you along, mate. I want. You can stay here as long as you want. I'm just curious about your own time, but I feel like you could just sit here as long as you want. I mean, I'm just going to sit and watch the cat while you're talking anyway. So
yeah, she's having a slow day for sure.
Do you only have one cat?
More active. Yeah. Yep. She's my first pet ever too. Like even growing up, we had fish. That's what we had as pets. Were fish. And my dad always claimed he was allergic to fur, and so we couldn't have like anything like dog, cat, anything like that in the house. And then I only got her about 4 years ago. She was a pandemic cat, right? It's like and so so I speaking of how great co-hosts are, my former co-host Jeremy King demanded, not asked, he demanded that he drive me to Connecticut. It was like almost a 2-hour drive to go pick her up. He goes because you're going to want to bond with her on the way back, and you can't do that if you're in the driver's seat. And I was like,
it's true.
Wow. And it was just like, so he's just, and again, just an amazing guy. She's been my constant companion for like the last 4 or 5 years. And I live a pretty solitary lifestyle. Like I don't leave my apartment very much, and when I do, it's to go like to gym or something that like, I don't want to see other people during, and so most of my life just consists of like being in a VR headset and writing about VR games and talking about VR games. What you see is pretty much what you get, right? Like there's not a lot else going on over here. And so just having her here, I don't know, man. There's something very special about it to be like,
I completely understand, because when I used to live alone in my flat, there was a point where I was like, okay, it's getting a little bit lonely in here now. So I went out and got a cat, and I absolutely love that cat. Like, yeah. So
I didn't understand. I didn't understand what I was in for. Like, I don't know if you felt the same way, but like not having pets growing up, it was like I didn't understand that you fall in love with your pets,
Oh,
right? Like that you
100%.
have this amazing connection, and it's like the way they look at you, like they just like stare up at you.
It's that little blink they do as well with cats, where they kind of look at you and they do a little slow blink. You're like, "Yep, I mean something," and you kind of you carry that all day. It's a weird one. It's hard to explain to people that don't have cats even, because they're like, "My dog just blinked to me." It's like, yeah, it's not the same though when a dog does it. When a cat does it,
right.
you know it means something, and it's like, yeah. But we when I met my partner, she already had a couple of cats, or I say a couple of cats. She had 3 cats, so we got 4, and then we had 6, and then sadly it dwindled down to 4 again. So we've got the 4 now. But yeah, I absolutely love cats, and I'm not going to say I wouldn't get another one, because I think there will probably be a point where I'll cave in and get another cat.
I feel like you never look at Miyazaki animes the same way again, right? Like the way they portray cats in there is so accurate, and it's just like I didn't realize until having a cat. I was like, oh, you were telling me about cats long before I ever had a cat. Like you were telling me like exactly how they act and the relationship that you have with them, and just how a look can mean so much, and how they can guilt trip you with one little stare. Like, what are you leaving right now?
It's like I fed you, didn't I? I did feed you. Oh, wait, your bowl is empty, but I did feed you. I'll put another pouch in there anyway. It's fine. We've got enough pouches. You have another one.
Right?
It's like that every time.
That's why she's a little heavy, is because like she can guilt me into anything. I was like, oh, you want more treats? No. Okay, you can have more treats.
That's like my Lexi. I literally put her on we're going to talk about cats for the next hour. We put her on a dietary food, and we have to get all these different bowls for our cats that are all sensitive to their microchip. So they've all got their own bowls. So they'll put their head in there and the bowl will open so they can actually eat their own food.
No way. That's so cool.
Yeah. They're expensive, but it's worth it for the dietary side of stuff. But we found out that somehow, I don't know how, Lexi just kept managing to get into the other cat's bowls. And I think it was somehow she had put her head in there when the sensor was detecting another one of the cats, so it actually registered both of them. So she was going in the other person's bowl and eating their food. And I was going, oh, Freya's eating all her food again today. That's really good of her. And then next thing I walked past, like, how's Lexi got in her bowl? Because she was now she's eating the full fat food for like a kitten, as opposed to a dietary requirement food. And yeah, I was like, okay, right, let's disconnect all the bowls, reconnect them all. So we've got all these cats lined up, just putting their heads in these bowls, and it was just. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Wow, Lexi's that little hacker, huh?
Yeah, she's a special one. But that's the one I've had since a kitten. She was the one I got myself, and yeah, literally, I adore that cat. She'll just kind of walk over to you and just kind of flop on the floor and just stare at you. It's yeah, she's adorable. She's usually the one you'll kind of see laying in the background if I ever do let her in when I'm doing the podcast. She'll lay on the back of a sofa and stuff like that. But no, she's a good cat. So. Yeah, I can completely understand the bond you've got there. Nice, but let's jump into the next thing for you, because I am curious about this one. What got you, or how did you get into VR? I suppose is what got you. How got you?
I don't want to oversimplify it, but it kind of came from boredom. I think I'd been a gamer my whole life, you know.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when PSVR 1 came around, when it got announced, that was like what 2015, I think it got announced. Shuhei was showing it off like a full year before it came out. This is Project Morpheus. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like I'd gotten a PlayStation 3 and I was really, really enjoyed it. And then I got a PlayStation 4 and I was like less enjoying it. I was like, I was still playing games, but they weren't resonating with me the way that they used to. I wasn't getting excited about them the way that I used to. I wasn't diving into the world. Do you remember them? Did you play Fallout 3?
Yes.
The moment you step out of the vault and it just like, I can go anywhere and I can do anything.
Magical moment that is, yeah.
Magical. I haven't felt that feeling or that like amazement of what a video game can be or what it can do in a very long time. In fact, Fallout 3 might be the last time I've really had that moment before VR. And I was just like, oh man, like, you know, PlayStation 4 is fine, but it's like just there's a lot of great games, but it's just, I feel like I've played these before and just like in different versions, bigger. Now they're just bigger open worlds and slightly higher resolution and maybe better frame rates. And I'm like, the technical side of stuff on at least on the flat screen, I don't care that much about. You know, somebody who can appreciate an old NES 8-bit game or a TurboGrafx 16 game just as much as, you know, something on the PlayStation 4 or 5. It means just for me, it's all about the fun, about the gameplay, way more than the technical capabilities of what the game is, you know, has on display. And so I was just kind of losing interest. I'd already started the channel, and I thought maybe starting the channel would be a way to like kind of like reinvigorate my interest in gaming. And but then when I saw Shuhei show off Project Morpheus, it sparked everything. It sparked everything that had been kind of dormant inside of me since I was a kid. I used to watch Nick Arcade when I was a kid. I don't know, did you guys have that over there? It was like this game show on Nickelodeon where kids played arcade games against each other.
Probably, but I don't remember watching much Nickelodeon when I was younger.
The final like, you know, the final challenge they had to do was them inside of a video game, right? It was all green screened. I have no idea what these kids saw, like, but you just saw these like really poorly green screened kids running around this platform game, jumping to grab coins and this and that, whatever. And I was like, oh man, they're inside the game. They're inside the video game. That's so cool. And then, you know, fast forward a couple of years, and then the Lawnmower Man came out, and it was all about virtual reality. And I was like, wow, like that's cool. Like when you get to like fly around and you're inside the game, and this is what's happening. Oh, you can have sex in VR. It's just, you know, everything a 15-year-old wants to hear about video games. I was like, that's the future. But it took like, you know, 20 years or whatever for that future to actually exist in my life, at least. So when Shuhei showed off Project Morpheus, I was like, I'm so down with all of this. And I pre-ordered one. The second day went up for pre-order on Amazon, and there was a moment. It was actually, so I pre-ordered it, and then it was a few months later till it actually got delivered. But right before it got delivered, we were coming up to the release date, and I was just having like the worst month at work you could possibly have. I was waiting tables. And there was like, you know, and when you wait tables or you bartend, there's these ebbs and flows when it comes to, you know, financial stuff. It's like you can go home with $300 some night, you can go home with $20 some night, right? So you can just have awesome days or terrible days, you know, and so I was struggling a little bit financially and just being like, man, it's so irresponsible of me to drop this much money on something that I don't even know if it's going to be any good. There were no early reviews out yet. And I remember like leaving work and just being like, I got to go home and cancel this. I got to cancel my pre-order. And I got home and it had just shipped like an hour before. Like, and part of me was like, okay, I'll deal with it. Yeah, you know, like
exactly.
I'll be secretly happy about this. I tried to do the responsible thing, but like, I'm really happy that this thing is going to come and show up. And when it showed up, it changed my life. It immediately was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. This has reinvigorated video games for me. This has made me gone from losing interest in video games to having completely renewed interest in video games. It was sort of like that whole, you know, when you first get a console when you're a kid, you just want to play everything on it, like anything you can get your hands on. It doesn't matter even if it's a good game or a bad game. You just want to play as much as you can, and that's how I felt about VR. I played every single game on the demo disc that came with it. I went from being like, I don't have enough money to purchase this thing, to going on Amazon and being like, oh, Eve Valkyrie, sure. Drive Club VR, sure. Like just being like, I just buying every physical game I get my hands on, buying every digital game I get my hands on, and then just starting to be like, oh, why? I need to review these now. Like this has to be a major part of the channel. And you know, again, speaking to how great my co-hosts have always been, they were like, they noticed. They were like, this is all you want to talk about anymore. And I was like, yeah. I was like, are you guys down? Like if this is, I mean, we're going to lose all of our subscribers, but are you guys cool if we just talk about
restarting PSVR
from now on? Yeah. Rebranding the channel, like, and just being all about PSVR. I was like, are you guys cool with that? We're going to lose all of our subscribers, but like, this is, but I care about this. I don't care about that. And they were like, yeah, whatever you want to do. And so Sweet. Like, I bought some of them headsets and PS4s and we made it happen. And that's how I got into VR. Yeah. And because it was PlayStation VR that made me fall in love with VR. That's just where I wanted to be. That was like it felt like home, you know. It felt very comfortable to me to stay in the PlayStation ecosystem where I had been since PlayStation 1, right? And I've gotten every console and every handheld, PlayStation 1, 2, PlayStation PSP, right? PlayStation Vita, even PlayStation, you name it. It doesn't matter how ridiculous what PlayStation was doing was. I loved it.
And sometimes it is ridiculous.
Yeah, like
you can't deny
that. I'm like the only person out there that really still goes to bat for the Move controllers, like pre-VR, right? Like I loved PlayStation
They were
Move.
Good for their time. I never used PlayStation Move as on like on the PS3, but like when I played on like PSVR, I was like, These aren't bad, and because I remember the one thing I was watching reviews before I bought it is everybody's like, "Oh, you can lose tracking really badly." Blah blah. I rarely had any tracking issues. The only time I had any tracking issues is when I changed my light bulb and it had a different hue of light, and I was like, "Okay, now it's not tracking my things properly." So I had to go out and buy a completely different color light bulb and all that kind of stuff. That was the only time.
Once you get it set up, though, like once you had a good setup, you just don't mess with it. Like leave the camera where it is, leave the lights the way they are. Yeah, and people didn't get that. Although we did have, I mean, there were so many people that were like, "Oh, I found that there was a mirror that was causing interference, and like, I had to take down a mirror in my living room, or I found that there was some electrical
there was some
crap
interesting
in the
ones,
wall."
wasn't there?
Yeah, it was like some people just didn't have an alternative, and I felt really bad for them.
My TV turned off and it had a reflection, and that's what was causing it. So yeah, there's some really crazy ones, but. No, I mean, I think in a similar situation, I wanted to play Resident Evil 7. I was really wanting to play it, and then I saw that it had VR support, and I was like, that sounds like a cool way to experience this game for the first time as my first VR game.
Wow.
And I went out and bought it, and I had buyer's remorse because the next day it went on a Black Friday sale, and it went down by like £200. So instantly I was like, oh... And then I played more games, and I was kind of like, no, I'm loving this thing. Like, the price I paid for it is fully justified. I'm absolutely loving this thing. I completed Resident Evil 7 fully in VR, and it was one of the scariest experiences I think I've ever went through in my life at that point. I mean, not anymore. I mean, just been through a house fire, but, you know, it's like, but at the time, like, I remember just hiding behind the sofa from the Baker family and just, like, looking up and just thinking, this is it. I'm inside their house. This is crazy. And it was just an absolute surreal experience. And that's never left. Like, I mean, that was crazy.
That's something RE7 captured so well in VR. It was like sort of this, I think more than anything else was like the fear of the unknown. It's like, yes, the unknown paid off, right? They didn't just make you scared and then not deliver. They always delivered. But it was like, I just remember standing at the top of the stairs, like looking down to basement and going, I don't know if I can do this. Like just walking down the stairs, walking into the through the basement door. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can literally get myself to walk down these stairs. This is too much, you know. And then like, and that's bad enough. And then you experience the molded for the first time. You see the shadows on the wall. When you hear the noise, it's like, what is that happening right now? Yeah.
It was also the first VR game that made me fry up in VR. But that was more so because I wasn't experienced with VR, so I thought, Joe, what, it'll be fine to have a couple of beverages and then play some VR. No, wasn't a good idea.
Like alcoholic beverages? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. I literally only had two. I only had two, and I was like, Joe, it was day off work. I had two. I think it was 2 ciders, and I sat down and played VR, and I was like, it was the instant of me. So coming out of the save room and going down the stairs where that mold is, and I was like, I don't feel too good. I was in the headset for probably like 2 minutes, and I was like, I don't feel too good. Yeah, so that was my first experience of proper VR sickness. I've been there. It's not fun, but it doesn't stay. It's coming from someone who plays VR pretty much every single day now.
Yeah, I think Dreams was the only time I dealt with much, only because it's like, you know, we're dealing with very unoptimized experiences and you know, constantly clicking through the warning screen saying, hey, you might get sick. This is a really intense game in VR. And it's like, yeah, whatever. I'm fine. You know, the number of dream streams I did like on no food, or I was over caffeinated. There's always reasons for it. For when it comes to me, like it's like, I just haven't had a chance to eat today, or I've had 17 pots of coffee, one or the other. And, you know, and you start feeling your stomach twist and you're like, I'll be fine. And then like 20 minutes later, you're like, I don't think I'm going to be fine. Right. But you're live streaming and it's like, you just have to fucking deal
I got to push through it. I got to push through it.
Yeah. You just, and then you know, you end the stream as fast as you can and you go throw up. It's like, but that's it. It's really, it's been, I can probably count, you know, I played hundreds of VR games. We must be getting close to 1,000 at this point. And I can remember getting sick maybe 3 times maximum. And yeah, it doesn't keep me away. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's very rare, like a game that comes out on the PSVR 2 that makes me go, oh, it's making me feel a little bit queasy. You know, it's very rare that happens. I find sometimes on like a PC VR game, like if, again, like I've got a fine PC. There's just certain ones where you play them and they kind of feel a little bit glidey. Like if a game feels too glidey when you're moving, I'm still like, I don't mind it. I can still play it, but it's one of them things where it's like, if I do stupid stuff like spin around in real life and spin around in the game and try and be an absolute cock, that's when I'm going to be like, okay, that's probably a bit too much. But
that's a good way of putting it. think Genotype to me felt a little too glidey, and it didn't make me sick, but something was like, something's up here, like with the movement. It makes me feel weird. And it's like my brain doesn't like it. And I think that's why I never finished Genotype, was because it's like, oh yeah, you're running at 120 hertz native, but like it's
not the frames. Yeah, it's just like it's like there's no movement to the feet like when you're moving yourself. It kind of just feels like you're just literally on roller skates, and
I need some head
something
bob
weird
or
about that.
something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, going forward, what excites you most about the medium? Like in terms of VR, what excites you with it? You've been playing it for so long now, so I mean, I'll be surprised if anything excites you anymore. I feel like at this point, most of it's been done, hasn't it? To the point where it's like you're waiting for that next thing that feels new and refreshing. And I still feel like we're kind of waiting for that, even in terms of PSVR 2. I don't think we've got much that's been new and refreshing.
Yeah.
Especially if you've went from one thing to another. I suppose if you played a little bit of PC beforehand or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think what excites me is that is that we're constantly being surprised at the best possible times, right? There's always this underlying rumble being like VR is dead, and PSVR 2 specifically is super dead.
No, PSVR 2 has been dead since the release. We can't escape that. It's something we all wear as a badge of honor at this point, and we,
right.
All our headsets are dusty as hell. It's just, we just have to deal with it. You put it on, you sneeze from the dust.
Yeah, if you believe anyone online,
exactly.
Then yeah, we've got nothing to play. It must be horrible. But yeah, I mean, we're constantly being surprised every single time people go, Sony doesn't care about VR or VR is dead or whatever. It's right around then where we get some amazing announcement, like Resident Evil 4 remake VR mode, and we're like, ooh, wait, what's going on here? Or Hitman: World of Assassination, all three. Right, all three games coming to PlayStation VR 2, and as everyone, you can see, there's palpable excitement about that game, and everyone who's played it is like, this is one of the best VR games I've ever played. And you're lying to yourself if you don't think that Sony paid for that, right? Like, if you don't think that, do you really think that IO Interactive is going to give that VR patch to people
exclusively
for
just
$10,
yeah,
right, without having been compensated in some other way, or that Resident Evil 4 remake VR patch is just free? Oh, they got paid for
exactly.
that. Not by us, but by Sony. And so, Sony quietly cares about VR. Like, they're not putting themselves on stage being, look at us, look at what we've done for you. Instead, they go, here are games, because games are what fucking matters the most. And and we don't have to put ourselves up on a pedestal and pump ourselves up. We don't have to defend ourselves against the haters, because we care. We obviously care about VR to some degree to keep it moving. And that's what that's what excites me most, is that there's always, just when you think that we're probably not going to see another AAA title, you do. And I don't think that's going to stop. Like once, twice a year, there's going to be like that moment. And I'm patiently waiting for BioShock VR to get announced. Like, it's going to happen one day. It's got to, Reece. Like,
flat to VR. Come on, do something. Yeah. Come on, it's got to happen. Just slide them whatever money you need to slide them. Like, mate, walking through Rapture in VR. Yeah, no, I need that now.
That's my dream. That is it.
You've planted the seed right there. I tell you, that's not going to leave me. That's what I'm going to keep wanting now. God.
Yeah, I'm not even like the biggest. Like, BioShock 2 was fine, right? But it was a little bit more the same to some degree. And then BioShock Infinite, I was like, I don't like the world of Columbia, and I don't really care as much about this story.
Gameplay was still fun, but it's kind of like you didn't mind the voice acting and all that kind of stuff. But then again, it's Troy Baker. You're not really going to get a bad performance from him, are you? It's just, I think it's at this point literally impossible for him to do a bad performance, because it lives and breathes the characters. I say that, and you're pretty like, I'm not a fan of Troy Baker. I think he was bad in The Last of Us.
Yeah, because you didn't know that you were a fan of him. That's why you're not a fan of Troy Baker, because he's been in 1,000 roles that you've probably really enjoyed. Yeah,
you just turn around and go, "Is that I know that voice."
I think I met Troy Baker at
you met him
300. Yeah, I think
I thought you were going to say you waited his table or something, and I was going to be like, okay, how did that happen? Like, other than you just waiting his table.
No, I was a big Podcast Beyond fan on IGN. Like, that's what really made me want to do this stuff. And so I actually attended Podcast Beyond episode 300. They filmed it live in front of hundreds of people, and it was just this entire weekend of, like, they even filmed an episode of Knockin' Boots at a bar. Unfortunately, this is back when I was still drinking. So I mean, like I was just drunk with like the entire IGN crew the entire weekend, and their special guests like just hung out. Like there's Troy, there's there's a bunch of people, and I didn't even know who a lot of them were at the time. And it wasn't until later that I was like, oh, I have pictures with that dude. Like we're shit faced together, right? Like I've got a selfie on my phone right now of me and Troy being like,
we're bros.
Definitely not bros. He'd have no idea who I was if you asked.
He's totally coming on Gamecast. That's what you don't know. In the next few weeks, you're gonna get Troy Baker on there. It's crazy.
Oh,
you
man.
heard it here first, folks.
we tried to get Shuhei on the podcast.
We've outed him as well.
because he's been everywhere, right? He's been showing up just everywhere. David Jaffe's podcast, Colin Moriarty's podcast, and I was like, man, he's the reason that PSVR 1 was what it was, right? He that was his baby. And so I was like, man, I'd love to get him on the show and just talk about PSVR 1 and PSVR 2.
I think it'd be an amazing chat.
So he followed me. He followed me probably a year and a half ago on Twitter, and I've never taken advantage of that. I was always like, oh, it's so cool that he follows me. It means he might care about what I'm doing. He doesn't follow that many people, and so but I never took advantage of the fact that he followed me until last week. So many of the game cats have been asking if we could get him on the show, and finally I was like, I'm just gonna ask him.
I'm gonna ask him.
Yeah. So I DM'd him and said, hey man, like would really love if you came on the show, talked about PSVR 1, PSVR 2, just because like we know that you loved it, and would love to hear a little bit more insight. And he was so kind, saying responded within an hour, saying,
oh, bless him.
Saying he's like, I'm just so busy, so I'm not going to be able to make it on your show. I'm sorry. And right, very very short, succinct.
You respect it though, he is a busy man still. Plus, he's got life to enjoy now,
Yeah, and the fact that he took the time out to respond. I mean, so many people would just not have bothered. Just been like,
it's true.
But I'm just gonna not respond to this nobody. And so I said, hey man, thank you so much. I appreciate you even taking the time out to respond. And he hearted that response, and I was like, man, you just tell, like, even though he said no in the greatest way possible. So shout out to all the cats out there who have done their due diligence and added him constantly on Twitter and said, hey, you should really go on without.
Just responds back going, I've been harassed by your posse. Like,
I'm a little nervous about that. Like, I kind of want to tell them to chill out now that he said no, right? But part of me is like, well, maybe if we keep poking him every so often, he'll finally say yes. We'll see. But
who knows? Right. Let's. What's your favorite VR game that comes to mind? Nah, it's gonna be a difficult one for you, since you've played like well into the 1,000.
It's not that difficult. I actually have a handful of games that it's mostly going to be horror, right? Like I would just
okay.
Anyone who watches the channel knows that like horror gets a little bit extra love for me. Like I'd rather play an average horror game than a really good action game. I really would. I just love horror that much. Where those are just the worlds I want to be in. That's the kind of stuff that I love more than anything else. And so like Madison VR. Like stole it's still Resident Evil 7's crown as far as I'm concerned. Like there were points in
terms of the scariest game.
Here I am. I think if I go back and play Resident Evil 7 now, I'd be like, you leaving us? I think if I go back and play Resident Evil 7 now, I'd be like, oh, this isn't nearly as bad as I thought it was. It just happened to be one of the games I played early on in VR. But Madison is like, I've been playing VR for 9 years. You can't throw anything at me that I wouldn't expect. In that game, constantly threw stuff at me that I did not expect, and it was just terrifying to move forward. I thought I was also so extremely overweight at that point in my life, where like I was just so unhealthy, where I'm not joking about this. I was legitimately scared that
you'd have a heart attack.
That if there was a jump scare bad enough, it might kill me, right? Because I was just like, man, my heart just can't take this. Like, this is really, really bad. And so yeah, so I think that added a little bit to the horror aspect.
That game made me fall over.
Literally
jump
fall
scare.
over?
Yeah, I fell over and landed on the sofa. So I literally fell back. I jumped, completely just took me off guard. Fell straight onto the sofa and literally made such a huge loud noise that my partner shouted and says like, "You're right there." I was like, "Yeah, just fell over, Yeah, That game, I played it completely with this the whole time, holding the controllers like that.
Yeah,
yeah,
for
and
sure.
I even did say in my review, if you have any underlying heart conditions, don't play this game, because I genuinely think it would be enough to give someone a heart attack. You hear a creak, and then you hear the thunder, and then all of a sudden you take a photo and something happens, and you're just, it's too much. It's too much. That game, I used to love horror games in VR. Jumping into Resident Evil 7 is my first horror game. Madison has reverted me back to the point where I struggle with horror now. I genuinely struggle with horror. Like, I go into it, I'm like, and I think it's going to be as bad as Madison. Then I play it, and I'm like, well, that wasn't even nearly as bad. But the thought was like it's going to be, and now it's always there, and that's the worry. So, thanks, Bloody Yes, for that.
Yeah. So super memorable, and plus, like, honestly, I think people focus so much on what we just focused on, the horror, and they forget what a great fucking story that was too. Like, just the way that it's told, it's like, I actually cared about Luca. Like, I was like, I felt like I needed to protect this kid, and what I love is that, spoilers for Madison, you guys, like, cover yours for the next 30 seconds.
1,
for real.
2,
yeah
3, go on, Brian.
Yeah, thank you. Is that it feels like at one point you're like, wait a minute, I'm the bad guy. I am the demon possessing Luca. I am controlling him, and I'm telling him what to do against his will. Like, especially in VR, it makes way more sense, right? You're like, I'm controlling this young boy, and it just feels so wrong. It's like, I feel like I'm his protector, but it also feels like I am what will cause him to perish ultimately.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can say it. I've already had to do a spoiler warning once before, because when I reviewed the whole game here, I was like, I said it all, and I was like, oh damn, we did put a spoiler warning. I had to kind of add it back in afterwards, but yeah.
Very few games are able to do that. Is like making you feel like the hero and the villain at the same time.
Yeah, that game was quite impactful, and I think also just in terms of VR and what VR can get you to do in a VR game, I think it was quite heavily impactful as well. And it's another thing we spoke about here. Like, we did an episode like what was too far in a VR game. Like, when are you crossing the line in a VR game?
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite an interesting little topic that we did before.
What was your take? Do you think they crossed the line?
I think to portray the story, it's absolutely fine, and I think it's something that, again, I'm all for portraying the art, whatever the creator wants to portray. I'm all for that, and I think do whatever you want to do. Whether it annoys some people somewhere, if you truly believe that's your vision and you want to portray that, don't feel restricted. All I would have said is maybe add a, because there's no warning. And at least when I played it, there was no warning initially. I don't remember there being a warning or anything like that, or at least adding a thing saying this is going to happen, or even if they added something where it says you won't do this part, you just kind of watch it out, like you watch the screen, like the cutscene do it. I think if they added something like that, I'd be completely cool with it. Not that I'm not completely cool with it, because at the end of the day, I mean, I've played Bone Lab as well. Like, I mean, it's a weird feeling to do in VR though. But I mean, people, if you don't know what we're going on about, that's good. You're not going to know. But if you do know, it is definitely a weird feeling to get a player to do that in VR, and it does. I've had the same discussion with Miles. It's like, if somebody has that trigger and it's something, God forbid they've experienced themselves, then it's putting you, it's trauma. So is that kind of side to it, and that was my only concern with it. But again, the story is all about trauma, so it's kind of like, and literally that story alone is literally just trauma, like non-stop. So it's kind of like it plays where it plays to. But I can understand why it may trigger some people. It's just it's a very interesting take as well, and I'm surprised it didn't get pulled. I'm surprised PlayStation like, no, we can't let you do this or something like that. But if it was also in the non-VR version, so it is what it is.
yeah, but that's
give it a tug.
One of the many things that makes it so impactful and so memorable, right? Like the interface wasn't perfect, the inventory system wasn't perfect. There's some janky interactions, and I still gave it a 10. I was like, this is just it's just such a memorable game for the scares, for the story, for everything that you do. I thought the puzzles were great, and I don't think I'm ever going to platinum that game, right? Because it's like you got to find all those hidden pictures, and I don't have the stomach to to like go explore all of those areas, like the graveyard and everything like that, where it's just like, listen, I just want to get to where I'm going. Like, I just need to get to the church. Hurry up. Like, I don't think I've got the backbone to
what did
play
you
that multiple times.
I'm curious now. What did you think of Overdark?
I loved Overdark.
You loved Overdark. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, listen again. Plenty of issues, right?
Oh yeah, there was definitely issues.
Yeah, but man, it's like it's sort of what I said about Pirates VR, Jolly Roger, right? These 7 out of 10 games, right? That like just tell a
they're great every now and then,
right? They got fun puzzles and good atmosphere, and they deliver on what you want from a VR game. I'll take those all day long. I think that people have stopped caring about 7 out of 10s or 6 out of 10s and saying if it's not a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, then I don't care about it, right? It's like, but man, I've got so much appreciation for these indie studios doing indie things, to the point where I'm like, I'm losing interest in AAA, because AAA comes out and it's this big massive thing, and I'm like, I don't know, like it's great, but like I'd rather see the creativity from the smaller studios. More Sirens on my end.
Yeah. Much like Madison, I mean, like you won't get that creativity in a AAA game because they won't push themselves to do that, because they'll instantly get pulled back. They won't be allowed to portray a story like that, and it's things like that that gets lost in translation. So I do think you're right. I'm all for the indie games, especially in VR. I know a lot of people want these big games that will, look great all the time. But I mean, give me Compound. I'm happy with that. I have fun with that. Like I enjoy that. Fun. Like. Let me sit and play Smash Drums for the next 2 hours. That to me. This is something I'm not doing in real life. It's things like that. I mean, also I'm not walking through a haunted house like in Madison, but it's. My point is, like, I can do these things in VR that I can't do. But when people go, there's this really realistic game, and it's like, I see realism around me. I live in a real world. Like, I don't need to see realistic graphics for me to have this wonderful experience in VR. But I know a lot of people want that, but never bothered me.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, like I love it when we get a AAA announcement.
Oh yeah, it's nice to see.
When we get, like, Village is still one of the greatest PSVR 2 games, I think.
I remember playing that the first time in PSVR 2.
So good. Like, when you fire the shotgun and then your headset rattles, right? It's just like, that's the most impactful shotgun blast I've ever experienced in any video game ever, because of the headset rumble. It was like, wow. It's like, you don't even know, like, if you're not paying attention, you didn't even know that you felt it, right? But it just happens. And it makes sense contextually, and so it's like, wow, that was such an impactful shotgun blast, and you don't even realize that one of the reasons it was so impactful was because the headset rumbled. Like, wow, that's so crazy. And so I mean, listen, I love AAA games, and I want them to keep bringing AAA games to the platform.
Oh, 100%.
Right, because that's what's going to help. That's what's going to sell headsets.
Push it, sadly, things like Hitman: World of Assassination, things like that. You do need, sadly, I'm not saying sadly, but you do need those, and especially with like PlayStation, it does seem like that's what more people scream for, because I was having a similar discussion in your Discord earlier on. It's like certain Quest games come across, it hasn't got certain things, and instantly it's a write-off. Sadly, but there's still like a good game in there, and there's a good game in it. It's just because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the PSVR 2, people instantly go, nah, don't need it. Yeah. But there's that's the other sad side to, I suppose, the PSVR 2 as it is. People do miss out on games because instantly they've not put dynamic frame rate rendering, or they have missed haptics. And as much as the one thing, like, whenever a shooter comes over, I'm like, if it doesn't have adaptive triggers, I'm instantly going to be like, okay, you add this straight away. Like, if I don't have a shooter with adaptive triggers, then I might as well just carry on playing it on my Quest. It's as simple as that. There's something magical about that. Again, with haptics and the vibrations on the Sense controllers feel better than the Quest controllers. It's just as simple as it is. But to completely write off a game because it doesn't have all these features, you're missing out on these really good gems.
I agree.
And that's the sad thing.
It is definitely a double-edged sword. It's like we can have the best versions of every game ever made, or every VR game ever made. That's what dynamic foveated rendering allows us to get. It's like it's just experiencing Subside, right, and seeing just how like photorealistic that game is.
I played it on PC. I haven't played it on PSVR 2. I've played it on PC, and that's it. And God, my jaw dropped.
It looks so good on PS5 proper, right? That
base PS5.
Yeah, that when they updated it for the PlayStation 5 Pro, I was like, yeah, I mean, like it was didn't even, like it's like here's some dynamic shadows, and it's like the super sampling is like 0.5x extra or something. I forget what it was, but it was just it looks so good. It looks so good that it really shows what the hardware is capable of, and so sometimes we get spoiled by these things and just be like,
We do, yeah. It is
we
true.
can have the most beautiful versions in the best feeling with the Sense controllers, and then when a developer comes along and just doesn't take advantage of that stuff, you're just like, why?
It's a huge missed opportunity every single time. You know it is. And you're like, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you do a little bit more research? You know.
And then every review and every conversation about that game doesn't talk about how great of a game it is. The focus is now
have
about
they updated the adaptive triggers yet?
Yeah, right. Which is unfortunate, but I mean, I do. So we were talking about this earlier, right? How when I was before VR came out, I was sort of getting tired of these generational upgrades console wise. I was like, oh, the graphics aren't getting that much better to the point where I care, or the resolution or frame rates aren't that much better that I care. VR kind of hit the reset button a little bit on that for me, where I was like, oh, well, you're so close to those OLED panels in PSVR 2 that you can see every pixel, right? And so like you've got to optimize your game with the best frame rate. You got to make sure that you're not using a reprojection, because for some people like me, you can see the ghosting when you do a smooth turn or anything like that. There's all these little things where like the technical side has come back full force and been like, oh man, like I do care about resolution. I do care about frame rates, but I think we're so close. I think like PlayStation 6, PSVR 3, whatever the next step forward is just going to iron all of this out to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm now happy for the rest of my life with whatever the current hardware is. Like, I feel like we're almost there already, right? Listen, PSVR 1 and PlayStation 4 could handle Skyrim. Okay, like that.
Oh my God.
Right.
That game, that was another one that made me feel, I played that quite early on. And that was another one that made me feel motion sickness. I remember climbing to the top of the mountain and then looking down and going, oh my God, and just instantly feeling like I was going to vomit. What an amazing game that was. We need that, mate. Bethesda need to get that on PSVR 2. That will look so good. So good.
That's going to require Sony to step in and be like,
come on. I'm sorry, just give them whatever they need. You know, just, get them to bring Doom over as well. Not so much Doom VFR because it wasn't too great, but it still ticked the boxes for me to kind of make me feel like I was in a Doom game, but not enough to make me feel like I was satisfied with said Doom game, which says a lot.
Doom 3 worked. Doom 3 worked for me.
Doom 3, I remember playing that, and then so at the point when Doom 3 came out, it was about 2 weeks prior to me moving into my home. So like we just bought a home and I was about to move into it. So there was like 2 weeks prior to that. So I didn't even get to finish it, and I got halfway through it, and I was loving that. That was really good. Yeah. So I mean, next one for you. Where do you want to see VR go in the future?
I just want it to become a little bit more accepted. Right? Because I think we've got good games coming. There's no longer an issue of like, oh, PSVR 2 doesn't have games or VR doesn't have games. Where people are starting to see franchises that they recognize, like Half-Life and Assassin's Creed, Resident Evil. These games, these are big name games. Hitman. People are starting to see, oh, I can play these in VR. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And I want to see more of that to make people realize, like, oh, like, how great would it be if like Grand Theft Auto came to VR? And say, I think that would sell 10 million headsets overnight. Although I've said this about other games prior, like I've said this about Skyrim, I've said this about Resident Evil, I've said this about lots of games.
I think The Last of Us will probably help a little bit in the PlayStation perspective, but again, like there's a certain bit on Half-Life Alyx where I was like walking through it and I was like, this just feels like it could be The Last of Us. Like PlayStation just needs to do this part of Half-Life Alyx and just make it The Last of Us. Because there's like fungus on the walls and things like that. I was like, this is The Last of Us to me. This is just not a part I've seen anywhere in the game before, but this is Last of Us, and just it kind of gave me that itch that I needed to be scratched, but not enough, sadly. So still want Sony to pull a finger out on that one.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, we could
beg them forever.
I mean, there's so many things I want to talk about. Like, I mean, like when it comes to like what they did with Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is like, I think a wonderful climbing game, but like not a wonderful Horizon game. Like, it's just what we got was great, but it shouldn't have been called Horizon anything, right? The name Horizon.
I also don't think it should have been. I don't even think it should have been the bundled game. I don't think it should have been this big game to sell with the headset. I don't think it was a selling point to the headset. I still think at that point, even though Horizon had a fan base, I don't think it was a big enough fan base to make people want to go out of their way and experience that world in VR. Yeah. I don't know. For me, like that wasn't the reason I bought a PSVR 2. I mean, the reason I bought a PSVR 2 was Firewall Ultra, and well, look where that went. So that was quite sad.
I mean, I guess I disagree to a small extent. Like, I do think that Horizon it's one of Sony's best selling IPs, right? Like, I think the only thing that's outsold it is like Gran Turismo, and that's on PSVR 2, which is great. But so like if they had delivered like this open world adventure that's as beautiful as Aloy's adventures are on the flat screen, I think that could have been something special. It's like, upgrading your weapons to the extent that you can do it in the game and taking down the types of enemies that you take down on the flat screen. Like they could have just fucking ported Horizon Zero Dawn into VR, right? And made some of that first person, and then even Resident Evil 4'd it, right, with some third person cutaways if necessary. And I think people would have been way happier with that decision than Call of Duty.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think for me, I think I've pretty my position saying that about the Horizon. I think for me, it's never a game I've kind of jumped out of my way to want to go play. I played the first one on release, and then after that, I don't know, I couldn't even finish the second one, sadly, which I just couldn't get on with it.
It just makes you wonder if Sony understands VR the way that gamers do. They obviously understand to a certain degree, right? Because they
don't understand how to market it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, also, like, when they're the leading console by the widest margin you've ever seen in a console war, they're doing just fine where it counts, right? They know that VR doesn't count for anything. It's just this extra thing that they're kind of doing on the side, right? Like, I think they know it's not going to be a 20 million unit seller, and so they're just like, we're not going to spend time or money on it, other than making sure that people who've bought it get a cool game here and there. And so, but yeah, it's I don't know, man. I don't know. There's
it's one of those weird ones. Whenever you go to like future VR, especially in a PlayStation perspective, you don't even know there is a future for VR. Sometimes, like, you hope there's going to be, but at the same point, it's kind of like. It's like when we had Miles on, he kind of really pointed out how much the PSVR 2 is kind of future-proofed, like, for a good few more years, like, well into the, like, at least half the lifespan of, until, like, PC start using, OLED all the time. Well, they use OLED, but they don't use dynamic frame rate rendering all the time, or headset haptics, things like that. Until that's the industry standard, the PSVR 2 is always going to be a cut above the rest in that sense, especially when used with its proprietary system. And I think that's a valid point to be made.
Yeah, no, I mean, totally. So I just hope that Sony's paying attention and hearing what people say about Village or Resident Evil 4 remake, and then seeing what people say about Call of the Mountain. Right? What do gamers want? Well, they want the full-fledged, full flat screen experience, just in VR. They don't want like some built from the ground up, which is way more expensive. This is the confusing part. It obviously costs way more money to make Call of the Mountain. Built from the ground up, obviously reusing some assets here and there or whatever. But making a new adventure, it costs them way more money.
New story, new voice acting, new motion capturing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to do all that. You just have to kind of, and I think you're right. I think more people would have been happier with that. I certainly would have been happier experiencing Aloy's story in the first game than going through this one where I'm just climbing 70, 100 different walls to get to the top of the mountain to then go in a circle fighting an enemy. Because every time I got to the battle, I was like, this looks cool. And then I was like, I'm strafing constantly. And it was like, I want free movement for this. I want to be darting around. I want to feel like I'm like jump and shoot this bow and arrow. And
yeah.
So I think it just didn't hit for me.
So getting back to the question, like what are my hopes for the future of VR? It's that people who are making the games understand what gamers want a little bit better. It's like, sure, I think we'd all love built from the ground up VR AAA games when that becomes financially viable, when there's a big enough user base for that to happen, when you can create a Horizon open world game that is with a story that's never been told before, and give us all of the stuff that are in the flat screen games, but have it be this brand new adventure. That's just not financially feasible for any studio to do right now. And so, it
doesn't matter if they go into every single platform as well. It's just It's just not. Yeah, it makes no sense, does it?
So in the meantime, I really do think hybrids are the way to go. But hopefully somebody realizes that at Sony. We'll see.
Hopefully, I'm wondering how well World of Assassination did for them to kind of maybe look at the numbers of that to go, okay, people do care about this hybrid standpoint. I mean, was it RE8 that was a free upgrade? RE8 was free in VR, wasn't it?
Yes.
What one was a
RE8.
Downloadable update? Was they both downloadable updates? I can't remember.
Yeah, Village and RE4. I believe they both had like a specific patch.
So they can still track. Yeah. So at least Sony can measure how many downloads there's been. Okay. Well,
and it's been surprisingly low. It's been surprisingly low. Like if you look at Capcom tracks that stuff, and it's like something like 200,000 people, and I was like, well, 200,000 people.
So with that one, it's you can decline RE's TrackNet when you load into Resident Evil games. So it asks if you want your data to be surveyed and things like that, and you can decline all that. So there is always that one person that's like, oh, I don't want my data watched, go away, kind of thing.
That's
and then
me. I probably declined it. Yeah.
Oh, you wasn't even on there. Yeah, right. I think I probably declined it as well. But
right.
Yeah.
So those numbers could be way better than we think they are. Then is what you're saying.
I certainly hope so. For how great they both were in VR, they bloody need to be better than them numbers, because otherwise that's incredibly sad to say.